Hey guys, Romie here. So, look, being Mary Jane, the reason why it's up late is because after watching this episode, I realized this season feels like it's going to be a filler. I see where they're going with it. Essentially, they're trying to show us her throughout the whole season where she's able to maintain a relationship and that her family life is slowly on the uphill. But where is the conflict? Where is the real conflict? The spontaneity that this show was essentially founded on. Right now we're getting, essentially, I feel like we're doing damage control, which is great. But at some point we need to show the fact that you can still have drama and issues, but still keep it together. And that's what we liked about this show, and that's what we liked about Mary Jane Pope. Right now we're getting this borderline cookie cutter of a show right now. I understand the direction has to change, but this is a huge change. Anyway, let's get into it. This is Being Mary Jane, Season 4, Episode 6. The episode starts off with Mary Jane. She's outside doing her outdoor bit. Someone throws the snowball at her, and she's just over it. She's talking with Kara, and she needs a slight, not slight, but definitely change. A new change of scenery. So Kara decides, you know what? Why don't we go to Atlanta? She's going to see her kids. Mary Jane can go downstairs so that they can go essentially to like the Black Caucus, and maybe they can get a story there. Get a big story. What was it for? Thurgood Marshall or something like that? And it's so she gets home, and you know, it's not like back to usual. Her family's in a better place for the most part, so it's definitely a different Mary Jane that we're gonna see with her family. And I'm happy about that because she doesn't have to meddle in the sense where she would go and people wouldn't like her for it. Anything that she's doing, they appreciate. They're just happy to have her around. Of course, all her family comes to greet her. She is essentially going to go and stay in the house. But then she gets on the call with Lee, and Lee surprises her by coming to the house, so he's going to stay there as well. Lee quickly gets integrated into the family because they're saying, oh, so is this your fiance? Oh, no, this is your boyfriend. Okay, cool. So where is the ring? Oh, no ring yet? Okay, cool. So when is this going to happen? Oh, wait, okay. Now, all of this continues to culminate into what's going on with Niecy. Niecy isn't really feeling him right now. She's dealing with the fact that Travion, her son, he got not kicked out, but he got in trouble in school because this is a biting incident. He bit a kid. And Mary Jane tried to brush it off, but that's not funny. That's not funny. That is a big deal. Bite, especially, that's a child. So he could have been down to the bone or something. He's lucky he did not get popped. He's lucky he did not get popped by whoever he bit. Mary Jane is down at the Black Caucus. That's what I'm calling it. And Kara's already there. She's dealing with her own issues. Her son, he's not a virgin anymore. What is he, 16 or 18? Close enough. And because of that, he's having sex. She wants him to be safe and have protection. So she goes and gives him a box of condoms, essentially in front of this crowd full of people. They're not looking at them, but still. I'm thinking, dang, you really couldn't take a moment to the side and talk. I get what she was doing and her intentions were right, but her time was horrendous, so I felt bad for him. Mary Jane gets reintroduced to part of her old Atlanta clan, along with Vlad. Vlad is this posh, bougie, no, I think I'm better than you, no, I know I'm better than you type of dude, black dude. And he essentially is getting a position that Mary Jane thought she would have gotten. She's going to be on the, not afternoon, but like nightly news. And Mary Jane is thinking, gosh, even though I'm there at Great Day USA, it's not the same. I'm there, I'm doing stuff outdoors, I'm doing stuff for their online content, I'm essentially being the face, I'm essentially bringing in the younger audience, but I'm not really making the impactful difference that I wanted to make. Like I said, Lee is slowly being integrated into the family, and Mary Jane and him, they go out to the spot where she lost her virginity, and she's just saying, oh, okay. Lee also is learning some new terminology. Pauletta finds out that her friend died, and it's a hard time for her, so they're going to figure that out. Lee and Mary Jane decide they want to go and do a date night. A date night under her parents' house, under her parents' roof. So Lee goes, he gets ready because he's staying in, what was it, the family room, and he takes off, he takes off all his clothes, and I knew this wasn't going to work out. Mary Jane was going getting all of the snacks and, you know, the food play that they were going to interact with. What ends up happening is Paulette opens the door and sees him au naturel, because he was, of course, flaunting his piece and essentially trying to court Mary Jane to come downstairs. He got a pope. It just wasn't the pope he thought. So Paulette has to let me know, in all my years, I've never had to deal with whatever's going on with the two of you. So you need to figure this out because I don't have time for this. She then goes and talks to Mary Jane and lets me know, this dude isn't here to see your family. This dude is really interested in our traditions. He's a nice guy. I'll give you that. So you chose well. But he's here for you. He's here for you, so you need to keep that in mind. Mary Jane finds out, like I said, what's going on with Niecy. And Mary Jane turns it into a race issue due to the fact that Niecy brings up the point of her child isn't the only child with that issue, but her child is the only black child with that issue. She didn't say that, but she essentially said that as far as Mary Jane was concerned, Mary Jane wants to say, oh, well, I'm thinking this is probably one of the few cases where the real issue is Mary Jane is doing her thing, not Mary Jane. It's a school. It's a school, and so they have priorities. Those guys are donors. Essentially, those are donors. The amount that they bring to the school or what they can offer is on a whole nother level than what Niecy can offer. She really can't offer much of anything right now. Mary Jane's father goes and has a conversation with Lee and explains to Lee why they create the, what is it? It's not cottage cheese, but it's essentially like this meat gelatin dish of sorts, and it's a combination of like all the animal parts. And Lee, he's really interested because remember, he's from the UK, so people don't understand this portion. Some people won't ever understand this concept, but the slavery that was done here in the US was different than how it was handled all over the world. There were obviously some common denominators, and all of it was bad and horrendous and disgusting, but certain things were done differently depending on where you went. Like, you would have had it really bad on the islands in some cases, but then in other areas you might still have been able to at least adopt a culture and share your roots, even though they are kind of intertwined with a couple other cultures. Here in the US, the people who families were brought to the US, period, they're the ones that were stripped of all culture. Let's be real. For the most part, they're stripped of all culture, and their culture really is an American version of a little bit of African, but not too much, because you will have got your hands slapped. Now, Mary Jane really appreciates the fact that Lee is doing all this with her family. Lee has a conversation with Niecy because Niecy wanted to go and put out a tweet. He says, I know a little bit about you, and I know that you and this whole Twitter stuff, that isn't going to work out too well. So he takes her phone and types out this tweet and phrases it in a way where, her son isn't Trayvon, but he's Travion. And, a play on words, coy. The whole point is, what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander type of situation. So you can still get her point across, but not go and mess things up. And Lee is the father of two. He is a single parent. And so he understands where she is coming from. He does. He really, really does. And she's just like, what? I thought you were some prep school, but there may be hope for you yet. And Mary Jane is just loving it. Again, he's integrating really well with the family. Mary Jane is trying to go and get this sit-in with this man who he's a part of the organization that she wants to be a part of. So Kara essentially tells her, you need to work your magic. Vlad comes around and says, don't worry about it, Mary Jane. Whatever you think you can do, you can't because you're a woman. You're a woman, and a black one at that. That's essentially what I got from him. He gives me that vibe of, you know what? You're a strong black woman, and I don't like you because of it. I don't like you because of it. You do a little bit too much. Now, Mary Jane, she doesn't ask Lee, but Lee goes and distracts Vlad and convinces him that the person he wants to speak to is across the room. Mary Jane is able to get a seat at the table that she wants to get to talk to this leader. And she does the best to use her charm and wit. And she's slowly cracking away at him. Unfortunately, it's not enough, at least not at that time. And you can tell. He's like, I appreciate manners, you're respectful, you're smart, but that's still not enough. Lee is Vlad's telling him, you know, Mary Jane is a selfish individual, she loves ball players and rappers, that's the high life, and she cares about herself. Now he's not wrong, but because of the source, we discredit it. Lee, you can tell he's slightly, he's definitely listening to it. Mary Jane, when she figures that Vlad has the other guy on lock, she goes to his wife. And, you know, of course, she builds up his wife's ego to the point where she's just saying, you know what, you're great, and I like you. You look familiar. Oh, great Day USA. Oh my gosh, I love them. Oh, and you're on there. Yeah, you're amazing. And she was talking about Rhonda. Now remember, Mary Jane doesn't like Rhonda, but if Rhonda's going to help her get this opportunity, then oh my gosh, she was my idol. Emphasis on was. She was my idol, and Mary Jane successfully pivots the situation, and she gets, of course, the wife to go and tell her husband, here's what you're going to do. I don't care what you thought you were going to do, but here's what you're actually going to do. Lee, of course, says how impressed he is. Mary Jane says she appreciates him having her back, especially when Vlad was trying to say, you know what? All you are is, you know, some hoity-toity black woman in heels with boobs. And I said, excuse me? And what are you? A cook? Let me stop. Oh yeah, please like, comment, subscribe if I didn't already say so. Lee, I'm telling you, I was thinking, you need to hit him right. Boom! And then it happened. Lee saw this guy. I was like, what? I'm thinking, do you want me to tell you what happened? You got hit! You got hit, and you deserved it. See, it's men like you that give the rest of us a bad name, Vlad. A bad name. Mary Jane, of course, is talking to Lee, and they're essentially going to take the relationship to the next level, or at least attempt to, and it's so nice, it's so cute, and what have you. They have sex. That's all that really matters. Mary Jane, the next day, the next morning, she's talking with her mom, and her mom gives her the record that was so near and dear to her heart, and, excuse me, because remember, she's just going through, she's just thinking about history and how things were and how things could have been, but she loves her family, so that's all that really matters. At the end, there's this comedy scene where they all come together, and after Lee's done doing his comedic act, they bring on Pauletta to sing. I was like, oh, okay. Why did Niecy have to say, oh, well, you know. Oh yeah, and Mary Jane, because Lee brought up the fact that maybe we need to get Travion into some type of, you know, psychology sessions, and she'll pay for it. She'll pay for it. Originally, like I said, Lee told her that. She was like, oh no, we're a black family. We don't do stuff like that. We just go and pray everything away. I said, you know what? You need to stop it. That's partially true, but you need to stop it. I said partially. By the end of all of this, she said, you know what? I will pay for Travion to get the help. And he said, I don't want him to be branded. He's not going to be branded, but he's not going to get better unless we willingly do something about it. And this will help him. So she said, of course, I'm down for whatever it is to help my baby. And that's how it should be. And why didn't you say, oh my gosh, Beyonce, she liked my tweet. I'm thinking, Beyonce isn't on Twitter. Whoever wrote that is out of touch. Beyonce doesn't go on Twitter, period. Beyonce is on Instagram. Her and Jay-Z's on Twitter. He lurks, he cyber stalks people. And he said that he goes and he trolls and just looks at people's posts and then doesn't reply back, or sometimes he does through another account. Jay-Z and Beyonce stay online, regardless of what you may think. They're very aware of what's going on. They just won't let you know about it. But she did not do that. That was disrespectful. So that was it. Please like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, this show needs to do something.